think will
You're
quit?
taken to school.
Who do you think will quit? You're
will
wrong. You're going to get the shock of your life.
No, it's better to burn out than fade away.
There we go.
He is not elite yet. Tell me one elite fighter he's beat.
You want to see what the Silk said?
Yes.
I don't know whether to float or gloat.
What size feet is he, Ben?
Hello and welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, probably the best boxing podcast in the whole damn world. My name is Ben Doughty.
My name is Silk au Chocolat.
I noticed you going by a different moniker this week. I think you're the kind of person who doesn't like being tied down or defined or put in a box. I think you reserve the right to move the goalposts and the barriers and the. Is that true?
Well, chocolate doesn't mind being put in a box. I mean, look at you got weights.
Exactly. And then, do you remember, because of what we were talking about last week with Daniel Dubois, Andy Joshua, Spencer Fearon, Daniel Dubois' dad, and the Black Magic? Do you remember there used to be a brand of chocolate, certainly in the UK, called Black Magic back in the 70s?
Oh yeah, Black Magic, of course. Yeah, I remember the commercial and the song. Am I going to get sued if I sing it?
Let's play safe because I'm all right.
You just don't want to hear my voice, I'm sure.
I'm going to be totally transparent with you and the viewers. We got about 350 views on the last episode last week, and we got demonetized, as you know, because you played "You're the biggest part of me" by Ambrosia.
Well, you didn't know it. If you would have said you knew it, I never would have had to play it for crying out loud.
That's what I love about you, though. Even if you are culpable or at fault, you will always double down and blame somebody else.
No,
that's kind of cool.
Deferment is an important part of military service.
Indeed, it is. So Silk, I want to talk about the weekend's boxing action, and I'd also like to talk at some point in the show about the interesting weekend that you've no doubt had at the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. But let's open up with the subject matter in our thumbnail with the news that broke, I think, Friday night, I think it was, that Devin Haney has filed a lawsuit against Ryan Garcia alleging battery, fraud, and unjust enrichment. I love that one, unjust enrichment. And he is alleging.
First of all, battery. Can we just analyze it from the first point? Battery. I would ask my lawyer to find another name for it.
It's so embarrassing, isn't it? You battered me like you're a battered housewife. Yes.
Yes,
it's embarrassing, man. How can you? My ego could not let me.
Yeah, no, I'd have to figure out a different way to to word that, and I'm sure assault will do. I don't even know if assault works, but I don't know. Attempted murder is a little more, masculine, and probably the fact that if you're on a performance-enhancing drugs, attempted murder is kind of like pretty. If you're beating somebody about the head and you're extra juiced, I think that's kind of more apropos than battery.
Absolutely, I'm totally with you. It doesn't. It would offend my sensibilities as a man to allege that it had taken place. But I don't care how much money's on the line. But he says he suffered physical damage, emotional damage, and reputational damage as well. With obviously his reputation and an aura of I don't think he ever had an aura of invincibility, but his aura of hard to beat ability has gone.
Yeah, I think so. I think with other fighters, it definitely, with fighters dudes that he would potentially be fighting in the future, he's definitely damaged goods now, and people are going to come at him thinking whether they can or not. They'll just think they can break him. They've seen him on the canvas. They've seen him in under duress, and it's that aura of invincibility, is undefeated, is gone now, and it changes everything.
So that's the ambient side of it, and our gut reaction, how we feel about it, as macho boxer types. But how do you feel about it morally or kind of logically, Silk? Is this because Eddie Hearn said something interesting, and I think he may be right insofar as this might be a valuable case. It's because it puts this stuff under the microscope and it raises a bar and it sets a precedent. He says people don't care about getting bans, year bans, 6-month bans, 90-day bans. They may care about losing 10 million quid or equivalent. Right?
Now, just because I said what I said about the assault and whatever it was, yes, the case has legs. Absolutely 100%, and it should be done. And I praise Haney for doing it. I think, battery or not, I think it's something that has to be done because guys just aren't learning. They're not listening. And yeah, you'll win the fight and you'll get fined, $50,000, $100,000, but your purse is $1 million or 10, $20 million. It's like, of course people are going to do it. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, besides, unless you're somebody who believes in, sportsmanship and does it for, and fights for the more than just the money, or they're afraid to lose, people like that, or, they
Yeah.
are numerous throughout the sport as well. But I don't know how these tests work. And when they test for PEDs, right? When they in the system, I don't know how quickly they're capable of getting the results. So I don't understand why the athletic commission isn't also vulnerable to this. Like, shouldn't you be able to test the day of the fight and get the results back? And if you see the results are questionable, you say you can't go in the ring fighting like that, because that's when you're protecting the fighter.
You raise an excellent, very pertinent point, because as you've seen, even in recent years, some fights have been flagged and pulled before they happen, and substitutes, or the fight's just off. And other fights, it's come to light afterwards. And what you're saying is, what is the procedure here, and why can't we have some global consistency on this? Rather than, because obviously Conor Benn didn't get to fight Eubank Jr. because you know what happened. They flagged that at the public workout on the Wednesday, and they were loath to admit that was off. They kept saying, as far as we're concerned, the fight's still on. Conor Benn said, I'm a clean athlete. I'll see you all on Saturday. It's like, no, you won't, sunshine, and you're going to have ongoing problems because of this. But Anthony Joshua, he was supposed to fight Dylan White again last year, right? You probably remember. And he fought Robert Helenius instead because Dylan White failed a drug test, which he was later exonerated for reasons I still don't remember. But Helenius fought Joshua, got knocked out in the 7th, and then he tested positive for something too, then retired. So how can you flag one guy and not let him fight? Then you substitute. Surely it shouldn't be that kind of stodgy, the whole process. Surely not, in this day and age.
Yeah. I think they're capable of doing better. I think sometimes maybe it's you're friends with the promoters, or you're friends with, you have a big TV deal. Obviously, that those things all must weigh. You know what I mean? People spent their money. You're gonna have to give them their money back in somehow, right? You have to do something, and it's going to end up costing the promotion more than it would. And that's all the reason why you should make sure the fighters are clean going in. You don't want to have to return people's money.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to, I'm sure pay-per-view is going to also sue the promoter. It opens the promoter to all sorts of liabilities. And
I mean, certainly that Ben Eubank thing, that was going to be massive. That was supposed to be a DAZN crossover fight a couple of years ago. But as far as Garcia goes, do you remember when Gary was on here? He was kind of fighting Garcia's corner. Gary was of the view, there were minute traces. It wouldn't have made any difference, and that it was only on the day. What difference would that have made? Or
it makes a difference. Everything.
I can't remember what he said, but a fella I know called Richard Farnan. You know, these kind of guys who work a lot of seconds. He gets a lot of work. He works with a lot of fighters over here. He works Clarissa Shields' corner when she comes here. Richard's got a lot of connections on both sides of the Atlantic. He's West Country based in England. He said to me, Garcia was out partying the week of the fight. He said, I know for a fact he was, and bringing back girls, and he was drinking and drugging on the week of the fight. He said he took something just to make weight. He said, and it was minute traces. It wouldn't have helped him at all on the day. That's what he believes. And he was saying that Garcia was burning the candle at both ends, which Haney has spoken about also this week. Said he's just found out. People were reporting he was bringing girls back to hotel and stuff. And the suggestion is that Garcia was burning the candle at both ends, was not making he was cutting corners, and he wanted to cut the weight, which, as you know, he didn't make the weight in the end. He spectacularly missed the weight by 3.5 pounds or so. So that I can believe that, to be honest with you, Silk. I can believe he had a mess of a camp, couldn't do the weight, wasn't focused, and thought, well, maybe he would take something to help him make the weight, which obviously backfired and didn't work or whatever. Having said that, he went 12 hard rounds and looked damn good, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked good, but again, sometimes depending on the mental state you're in, like you do it on emotional fuel. You know what I mean? And you can do it on emotional fuel as you can on the physical fuel you've built up, the muscle endurance and all the rest of that. If you're not cognizant that you're tired, like if listen, your body can get tired, and if you're trained, you will always get your strength back again. But if you get tired and mentally you also believe that you're tired, you'll not get your strength back. It's
Yeah.
that's just the way fighting works. It's a very interesting, it's a conundrum of sorts, but
Yeah.
it's real. Like if emotionally you get tired, if physically you get tired, and then emotionally you realize you're tired, and you just feel it's like depression. You just go deeper into a depression. You just go deeper into lack of ability, like
So
the ability to execute. Sorry.
So this particular case will be an interesting one because perhaps it will put performance enhancing drug use under the microscope, under the spotlight,
Yes.
in a court of law in a way that we haven't really seen high profile before in boxing. This
I
is
used to
almost a
think, but you know what? I used to think it would never happen in boxing. I used to think it would never happen. Like boxing, how could it? How would people do something that would, you're beating someone about the head. You're not hitting a baseball out the park.
yeah.
How I didn't understand. I don't understand how organizations can even be even just a little bit understanding of something like that. It's the last thing that should be going on in boxing.
And talking of Conor Ben, who's
Mhm.
still I'm trying to think. I seem to think I have a feeling they're on the verge of an announcement, and they're going to talk about where he is going and what's the next step of his career and where he stands. But Chris, I went to the press conference for Beterbiev Bivol, as you know, earlier this week on Wednesday in London, and I don't know if you caught wind of it, but Chris Eubank Jr. caused a bit of a stir at the press conference because he said they asked him why. It was in a way it was Adi Aladipo's fault, you could say, because he said, you've worked with a few different promoters. Why have you chosen Boxer and Ben Shalom? And he
Wait, did
basically
and
said,
did he come to the press conference?
of course he did. Otherwise he couldn't talk at it, could he?
Yeah.
He was
Okay.
on the
Well, you
stage.
didn't
I'm
say that.
setting the scene. You always say that when you've missed a beat. You always say you didn't tell me. You didn't
It's not
say
that I
this.
didn't miss a beat. It's the fact that you didn't state a point when you were clearly talking
He was
about
at
it.
the press conference, and
He
Adi
was there.
Aladipo said to him, "This is like the other thing when I said, is
No,
it a
it's
question
not
of who
like
lands
anything
first?"
else. You didn't say Eubank was at the press conference. So how am I supposed to know? Yes.
Guys,
You
help me
could have
out
been
here. You're
on
free to
talking on
comment.
his cell
Guys, help
phone.
me out here. I know I'm only indulging this because I know some of you think we're hilarious and you really enjoy this back and forth between us. Someone said we're like an old married couple who love each other deeply, but will argue about anything, any damn thing at all. Unfortunately, the evidence on the tape is there, Mr. Olajide. Anyway, so Eubanks at the press conference, right? I was there too, just in case you accuse me of not being there later in this anecdote, all right?
Mhm.
And the guy, Adi Oladipo, who is a DAZN broadcaster, a black guy, you've no doubt seen him, youngish, he said, why have you chosen Boxer? And he said, because he's the only promoter who's not a scumbag. And then he made various libelous allegations about Frank Warren, who was sat right behind him. And Warren was not at all happy. Warren looked like he was saying, he wanted to say, somebody turn his mic off. Are you going to throw him out? Are you going to let him keep saying this? And I'm not going to say what he said because when Talksport tried to repeat it, Warren said, "Listen, you're saying it now. You'll get the same as him in a minute. You'll get the same treatment. Do you not understand me?" They said, he said, "Yeah, and you're repeating it." So I'm not going to say what Eubank said, but he said that Warren had been doing something for 20 years, which is preposterous because he's been involved in boxing for 40 years. But in any
Okay.
case, he said the only promoter who is not a scumbag is Turkey, Al Sheikh, the one who's proven he's on the side of the boxers. So that was quite interesting. But what happened, Silk, was Warren said he was going to sue him, and he made no bones about it after the press conference. And then the next minute, they both issued legal statements apologising to one another.
Okay.
Eubank apologised in no uncertain terms, and Warren said, "Yes, thank you. I accept that apology, and I apologise if I've said things that have hurt his feelings over the years as
Over
well."
the years, yeah, so it's a real love fest.
And there was a picture of them all together with the main man Turkey saying, we're not going to let this affect that, this train rolling forward. We want Eubank on the bill.
Yeah,
So
because ultimately, money where they're at, and they can make more money together than they can apart, right? And Turkey is the great, hey,
giver.
listen, he brings it all together. He is that. Yeah, he's the real
Well,
deal.
it's an amazing time in boxing, in boxing history right now, Silk, because I'm at that press conference and I've been at a few like it in the last 12 months or so. And you've got Eddie Hearn, you've got Frank Warren, you've got Ben Shalom, you've got Todd DeBerth from Top Rank. Is that his name? Todd DeBerth, I think his name is something like that. but you've got the man underneath Bob Arum from Top Rank. And it's a really interesting kind of time in boxing because they're all coming together and converging.
Yeah, well, they're
lot of
all kind
people.
of relegated to a certain type of status by Turkey Al Sheikh's, his overarching authority. I think is really putting everybody in their place. They don't want to scare away the money. Now the promoters are not the apex predators. Now Turkey Al Sheikh is the apex predator, and that changes the game completely. You'll see how they kowtow, how they're much more gracious in front of the camera and towards one another. In fact, they're even getting camera time now because they're not the guys that are really running the show. It's Turkey, right?
Yeah, it would appear so. And what Eddie Hearn said about Joshua Dubois, which obviously had happened last week, so within a few days of the press conference this week, he said nobody could have put on a show like that. And he said, and I hate to say it, but that includes me and Frank. He said that that show was just phenomenal. Now, Frank Forum was also made a terse address to those who are never happy and are always complaining no matter what. He said some people are never happy, they complain. There was a guy from the Telegraph, a very prestigious broadsheet newspaper in the UK. The main sports writer, Oliver Brown, was barred at the gate and told he would not be welcome and his accreditation would not be honoured on the night because he'd written critical articles of the Saudi regime in the Daily Telegraph. And then he wrote a very vitriolic piece after that, as you can imagine, with nothing to lose, saying, what on earth has it come to when they played the Saudi national anthem before the British national anthem in Wembley Stadium? And
That's
Frank Warren, huh?
That's
What is that?
insane.
Yeah,
They
Frank
wouldn't
Warren
do it
said,
in Saudi Arabia, and they wouldn't do it in any country with anyone's, with anybody. Hey, listen, wow. Go ahead.
we've
Sorry.
got Gary Rickards, by the way, says Chris Eubank told the truth. It was great. Warren is a scumbag. By the way, Frank, I didn't say that. Gary Rickards did. He's going to sue you, Gary. I don't think Frank does watch some of the things I do, but I don't think he watches this yet. Check out the Joe Calzaghe court case. Yes, I'm aware that there was a legal issue between Joe Calzaghe and Frank Warren, which I think it led to the folding of Sports Network way back in the day. It was after the Bernard Hopkins fight in 2008, I believe. But the thing is, Warren is very smart. He's very tenacious. He's very litigious, and he's very good at what he does. And it's not our problem. We don't need to take on those particular battles. What was I going to say? Aside from that, but it was interesting how quickly it was nipped in the bud. Anyway, Silk, I'm just trying to catch up with all the major talking points
Yeah.
as we go. As you know, I only got one interview at that particular press conference, but at least it was with Dmitry Bivol, and
Yeah, that was
that
a
was
good
kind of
one.
cool.
I like that. It was very.
Oh, thank you.
You did a great job. Credit where credit's due. You asked him very direct, straight, clean.
And I didn't have long,
answers.
and I think I made the most of it. Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah. For forget about it. Whether it was an hour or whether it was a minute, it was really a good. It was really a good interview. You got great stuff
Thank
out.
you.
And
And you know
hearing him
something,
talk and
Silk?
describe is always, both him and Beterbiev. I love the way they're both so like even tempered. They know where to
Yeah.
use their energy. You know what I
Do you
mean?
know what, Silk? What struck me is, because we all want to spice up our video titles a bit, because it's such a competitive, saturated market, YouTube, boxing, journalism. We're all looking for an angle and a headline which makes people want to watch it, right? We are, however deep and for real we are. So it occurred to me immediately with Bivol, you're not going to get any clickbait out of this guy. You will get you. That's why the interview is simply titled "I Have to Respect the Style," because he didn't say anything tabloid or clickbait, and I don't suppose he ever would.
Yeah.
You know.
Listen, I think both of them have the utmost respect for one another, and neither one of them are leaving any stone unturned in training. I think they're doing 100% what they can do, and that tells you that you don't need all the other bombastic kind of like
You don't.
screaming, but physical. You know what I mean? Threats. You don't need all that stuff to sell a fight. What you need is two consummate professionals that are the best in their division. They're
Do you know
fighting
what's
each other.
funny? Go.
Yeah, they're fighting each other, and they're real. They look at each other. You're going to see a real fight there. I don't think we're going to see anything but excellence. Like they're both
Absolutely.
bringing their best, and that's it. It's obvious.
And that is when you really have those kind of butterflies and anticipation. Other than all that kind of, whether it's fake animosity or whether it's real temporary animosity that's soon all patched up afterwards. Do you know there was a female Commonwealth super bantamweight title fight in Sheffield on Friday night, and there was a little blonde girl called Ticey Gallagher fighting a girl called Tori Ellis Willett or something like that.
Mhm.
And the Ticey Gallagher, the little blonde chick, pushes her head into the other girl's face at the face off. They're standing there practically in lingerie. She's kind of headbutts her, kind of pushes it like. And I thought it is really odd seeing women do that, like they're butting like stags. I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
some old school fans find it distasteful when men do that, but when you see this little chick who's like
yeah,
a super bantamweight, ringing wet,
yeah,
trying to act hard and macho, like copying what they've
yeah,
seen
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
men recently. It's odd, Silk. That's
Well,
all.
you know what it is? It's because like human beings repeat what they see. That's what we call us great apes, right?
Yeah.
We're part of the great apes because
Well,
we ape things, and what we see, if that fits with our personalities, we do it. So it's explanatory in that way.
rather you say that than me.
There's jungle apes and there's cave apes. So
Yeah.
let's not go there.
So which one you want to be? Yeah. But no. Someone says, Michael, how was the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame going? We'll get to that, but we'll get to that, Sarge.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there. But so that's what. Now, having said that, some of the greatest fights of all time they have, but it's real animosity between one another. Hearns and Leonard, like that first fight, the way they were talking to each other prior to that fight. Ali Fraser, you know what I mean? Ali
Yeah.
Fraser 1, 2, and 3, and many other. Like you'll see, Ali will play around in a lot of circumstances, but there's some circumstances he really goes hard and really cuts deep.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but today it just seems so like contrived. You know what I mean? It just seems so like
Yeah.
you don't know that person from anybody. You haven't been with him or known. He hasn't been a threat to you long enough for you to be speaking to him like that. I don't get it. But sometimes I guess there is just personality clashes as well, and you just don't like anybody. But of course, after the fight, you find common ground because if you fought a valiant fight, real fighters respect each other afterwards. You
Yeah,
forget
you
all.
shared something. I remember Manny Stewart saying after the first Gatti Ward fight, when you pound somebody that hard for 10 rounds and they keep coming and vice versa, at some point you have to say, I love this person. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. They've earned your respect. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They,
You've shared
yeah,
something and you're the only two who
yeah,
understand it to that degree on the
exactly.
night.
Yeah, yeah. You do really understand one another innately, and there's also the sometimes like when you get beat thoroughly and you understand the hierarchy at that point. You bend the knee to the individual. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, you got it, and you are that, and you give it up. And some
Yeah.
people, very special people, are able to do that. There aren't a lot of people that can do it, but there are some special people that can really admit defeat. And
Well,
there's
even Ali, the greatest, I remember his just the class and humility after he lost to Leon Spinks, and then the humour
yes,
as well. We're going to tell you all the truth. That was no manager. That was how to do it. That was how to
yeah,
lose if you
yeah,
have to lose.
yes,
And
yeah,
then it
yeah,
was also his speech. We all take losses in life. I'm not special. People lose worse things. People lose loved ones. People lose husbands, family members. People lose jobs. I mean, that was how you do it. Not bitching about your suit was too goddamn heavy because
yeah,
of the ridiculous theatre that has to become mandatorily tied to boxing
yes.
nowadays.
And not to delve too far away from the point we were going with, which is Garcia and Haney, right, in court, and that
If you
was
wish to keep talking about that, but yeah, we can. Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to bounce back in that for a second because like helping a fighter post fight is kind of like calling in the bodyguard post assault. Like it's too late. You should have had the bodyguards beforehand. Like I don't understand why. I just don't understand why they do not have the barriers set up to protect the fighters beforehand, because
And as I
afterwards,
say, they in the case of Conor Benn, they did. But Garcia, I guess he was clean all the way through. Otherwise, he could have been flagged before that, right? He was clean all the way through. But then he tested. I think the day of the weigh-in and the day of the fight were the two tests that they took, where they
exactly. And then he tested positive, but why wouldn't you see the results before he gets in the ring? What difference does it make afterwards? Now that makes me think it has to be a financial decision.
Yes,
You're
I think
not
at
going
that
to
stage they're not going to pull it. They're not
yeah,
going to pull it at that stage. They have to roll the
exactly.
dice, you know.
Yeah, and
Which
so
is
and which is unfortunate, because then the fighter gets hurt, and he's not going to be the same for the rest of his career. Devin Haney, whether he likes it or not, and whether anyone else likes to hear it or not, is damaged goods. His cage has been rattled rather severely. So it's not just the fact that people have seen him hit the canvas, and other fighters have seen him hit the canvas, and some of the shots weren't probably as significant as people thought you would have to throw against him to drop him. But it's the fact that he just doesn't have the same resiliency anymore. You know, every time a fighter goes to war, there's less in the resiliency. Let's say the well of resiliency. Every time you drop that bucket into the well and come up with water, come up with resiliency, there's less water in there. And
yeah.
the closer you get to the bottom, you know, the worse it is. And then a fighter just ends up quitting rather easily, because it's an endurance thing. There's just you just like, I can't endure this anymore. It's not even a conscious decision that you can't.
Also, Silk, right now, you talk about the damage to his psyche, his reputation, his standing, his trajectory potentially. You think it was Haney got a ban as well, because he hasn't done anything since then either. You know, so it
Yeah,
definitely atrophied his position.
well, he got a ban in terms of he had to 90 days off, right?
What, you mean a suspension?
A
What
suspend.
for?
Oh,
What
yeah, sorry,
for?
he didn't get knocked out anyway. He got
He didn't
knocked
get
out.
stopped. You think
But,
it was
and that's
worse than
another
getting
thing.
stopped in a
But
way.
that's another thing about it. That's another thing. A fighter can get knocked down, which is, and you get up at 9 and go the distance, and he's fine to fight again the next month. But a fighter who gets knocked down and takes a
Stopped on
10
his
count
feet.
and gets up at 10 and can't fight for like 6 months. This is like, it doesn't make any sense. Again.
Well, technically speaking, you get stopped on your feet, you still get the 28-day suspension in Britain. You know, you
Yeah,
can do.
exactly. Yeah, you still get a suspension, but that's exactly my point. You get a suspension with the difference of 1 second. I don't
Yeah.
understand that kind of
They
thing.
should have us as some kind of world boxing governing authority where we make these decisions, every one of them on merit, and we actually
Yeah,
argue about them for days first, and then we make a decision somehow,
we'll
some
fix it.
way.
We'll fix
You
it.
know? Yeah. Okay, so in your city on Friday night, there was quite a story or a subtext story, shall we say. Sandy Ryan lost her WBO welterweight title to the delectable Michaela Mayer at the theatre in Madison Square Garden. It was a great fight, and I know hard-boiled guys like Frank Lotierzo said they're actually going to pay more attention to female fighting from here on in. Such were they impressed, and they think the bar has been raised by that contest in particular. But the sub-story is that Ryan, somebody threw paint, a load of red paint at her as she left her hotel to head for the arena. So she had a whole load of paint up the right side of her tracksuit bottoms. She is convinced that it was a member of Maya's team trying to sabotage her, and she said it definitely threw her off. And she said, actually, I shouldn't have fought. It upset me and it discombobulated me. But she thinks it was one of Maya's people or somebody acting for Maya, with or without Maya's volition, who threw paint at her. Your thoughts?
Well, where was she elected? Elected what?
Elected what?
You said she's
I,
elected.
I said she's delectable. Michaela Mayer is
Elected.
kind of cute.
Delectable. I get it.
Yes. And
Sorry.
don't blame it on me enunciating or eloquation or anything. Blame it on you
It's
not
your
getting it.
English.
Yeah, man. Listen, you're supposed to be English too. And listen to you.
Speak English with an American accent, will you? I can't understand anything.
Yeah, I get you. Listen, Ned, all I was saying, I was slipping it in that I find Maya quite easy on the eye. I also met her at the Fury versus White weigh-in a few years ago, and she was just nice. Okay, but
Ryan.
but no, Mayer. I said
Oh
delectable
man.
Michaela Mayer. Forget
Oh,
that. Ryan was the defending champ who lost, who had paint
yes.
thrown at her.
And
English
she was a
girl.
heavier weight, wasn't she?
She was a welterweight, whereas I know Mayer has boxed. These women, they box all over the weight divisions, Silk. They jump up. I mean, Terry Harper last night won the WBO lightweight title for her third world championship at 27. She's boxed up at light middle at times, and because she's
Yeah,
boxed at 154. They division hop all over the place, the girls. What
yeah.
about what's her name? Amanda Serrano has won titles at a crazy Manny Pacquiao spectrum of weights. Clarissa Shields has got a heavyweight title. The girls just go everywhere.
Yeah, why do you? Okay, well, you know what I say about the weight thing, and this kind of proves my thing a little right. But
I knew that's what the next inference would be. I was going to say the girls are your dream in a way because they absolutely make a mockery of weight barriers because their
exactly,
talent
and
pool is shallower.
that
That's
way,
why.
yeah, there's that too. Absolutely,
But
you
can
know
we talk about paint just for a little while?
about yeah. Let's talk about paint for a minute. Yes.
Was it just emulsion
Okay,
taking her
so you
over?
think she hired somebody to throw paint on her, kind of like what they do with with the anti-fur people. They come and they throw paint on models wearing fur
Yeah,
coats or whatever and run down the street.
yeah.
Is that what happened? She had paint thrown on her, and
That definitely happened. Who was responsible for it has not been proven.
they don't
Sandy
know.
Ryan said she thinks it's definitely a member of Maya's team. And she
Yeah.
says, we have the CCTV footage and we've been talking to the NYPD and the truth will be out soon, she said.
Well, why would they? Why would they do it? Like, why? What's the significance of paint? Is she like kind of allergic to turpentine? I don't understand what.
I guess it would just bother you, wouldn't it, to have a bunch of paint thrown at you as you leave to get a
Yeah, I
limousine to
mean,
your fight?
yeah, someone throw an egg at you. I've seen people do the cake thing, or pie or whatever it is. But
Yeah,
I just don't understand why she would think in particular. Yeah, you're about to fight this woman, so if anybody
yeah.
threw paint at you, you would think automatically it's your opponent who did something like that. But I know you.
She was very unlucky if it was completely random, wasn't she?
Well, maybe. I mean, who knows?
It is New York, though.
Yeah, it's New York. It isn't usual someone runs around with a bucket of paint. They go to the bear store and grab a bucket of paint, throw somebody. But I mean, has anybody seen the person who threw the paint?
No, no. Basically, that person obviously got away. The assailant, it's.
And she was coming to where was she going? Into her hotel?
She was leaving the hotel to go to the fight when she
Oh,
was.
to go to the fight. So it happened like immediately right before the fight.
Well, it happened a couple of hours before the fight because you go a few hours early, don't you, to get
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
arena?
yeah. So she had to like get the paint off her body, all the rest of that
I
kind of
don't know
stuff.
if she did. There's a picture of her with all this red paint stuck to her right thigh. It looks like it almost looks like one of your designs, something you might wear, actually. To be fair, but
It looks like your rage, your anger.
yeah, but whether she changed or not, I really don't know, or whether she just went like that. God knows. I mean, I would like to get her on this show actually, and we could talk about it next week. Maybe I'm going to try that. And
Yeah, no,
I'll say, listen,
absolutely.
if we can talk to Dmitry Bivol and Michael Nunn, then you ain't nothing special, lady. So please oblige us. We want to talk about this paint.
Yeah, yeah. But what psychological damage would it cause? Maybe it'll throw her off her game and that she gets
Well,
more angry. I don't know.
who knows? It's a lot of emulsion, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you have emulsion in the States? It's a paint term. I'm trying to do a joke.
emotion. Oh, I thought it was some sort of like something like you emulsify. You put something in your mouth
Yeah.
and kind of. But
I thought of a bunch of jokes about this earlier, but I don't want to be too flippant about it because I'm sure to Sandy Ryan it's not funny. But
if you want her on the show, it may not be the best thing to do.
exactly that. But like I say, Silk, on balance, I tend to think it probably was sabotage. I mean, if I had to guess, I never like making assumptions, and I won't. But like you say, if it's a random attack, it's a random attack from someone who just happened to be carrying a big jar of
Yeah, yeah,
paint. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. You're right. People don't run around New York with a jar of paint. We have a lot of crazy people over here, but they don't go to a paint, spend like $50 on a can of paint and come and throw it on
So
somebody.
you're with me, like
I mean, I
Colombo and.
attempt to. Yeah, it seems like it would, but who would like? What even is the significance of that? It doesn't. Well, I wouldn't say. Listen,
It's going to bother a
I'm,
woman more
I'm,
than.
I'm about to fight. I'm about to fight Iran Barkley, and I want you to throw a bucket of paint on him before he like. Why? It just
but,
doesn't make any sense.
but it does bother a woman more, right? The sort of thing that would bother a woman more, even if she's a fighter. If we could get wet on the way to on the way to something, and it might be a kind of a drag, but we are men at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas women, it's the end of the world if they got rained on in torrential downpour when they've done everything, the way it should be, right? So
yeah.
I realise that female fighters are a different breed, the same as fighters of any gender. We've only got two genders, by the way, I believe. But yeah,
Oops.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying. But the female psyche is more likely to be bothered by paint being thrown at them than it would be if
Yeah,
it happened to you, right?
yeah.
Or I can't see Aaron Barkley giving a toss, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense, and I wouldn't do it either. It's just like it's just ridiculous. But yeah, who knows? In the grand scheme of things, someone put an idea in someone's head. I have no idea. It wouldn't even affect like the betting line or like I don't even get it.
Yeah.
It's a very strange one, but you could put things by me, that's for sure. In looking at the fight, what did you think?
It was a great fight. I think some of the women are very credible at this point.
Yes.
Both two skilled practitioners. Good fight. Maya made the early run and had the best of the first 6 rounds, and Ryan came on very strong. But it was a great fight, and it was the sort of thing that if I mean Ryan lost, I think legitimately and fair and square, but she didn't lose by much, and I am prepared to accept that she was thrown off and not in the best of moods, fighting away from home when some prick has thrown paint at her. And these little things can make a difference, can't they? I think I mean,
Yeah, I suppose
it's
it can. Some people use it as fuel. Some people use it as, something that
paint.
could. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people
Can you use it as fuel?
use paint as fuel. Absolutely great fistic skills. Like I really admired the way they were punching. They were punching for real. It looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this wasn't your 1970s, just new to boxing female boxer kind of thing. It was
No.
it was for real punching, great skill, loved it. I'm going to say something that obviously I've said many times before in terms of the defensive abilities.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they teaching them? And it's not like, hey, listen, Anthony Joshua is like he was the best heavyweight in the world for a while, and in his last fight and in many other fights you do not see any defensive inclinations at all, no defensive reflexes, and none in Dubois either. And it's so I can't just say it's a female thing, but it is more dominant within the female boxing than it is in the males. It's like nobody goes like this and puts their hand in front of a jab. Nobody like turns their head and rolls with the punch.
No,
I,
that's Tim. What this film calls it rubbernecking.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
turn off.
yeah, it's rubbernecking, all right. Yes, I mean, oh yeah, the movement, like turning with the,
Yeah.
riding the punch, yeah. And listen, Mexican fighters have mastered that art. It's incredible how good they are at it. And I don't say that to be biased or in any way. I'm just saying the fighters that I've fought that have done that the best are the guys from Mexico. It looks like they're taking it straight on the chin, but without having to do all the, leaning and doing anything
Yeah.
extra. They're very like calculated. So it comes right at them. They turn their head, they ride the punch, and the punch misses. It looks like it hits to the untrained eye, but it doesn't hit at all. And
Yeah.
I do not understand how people don't block, slip punches, move away. Why aren't trainers teaching their fighters these skills? It's insane that you'd send a
I think
person
some of them
for
don't know
that
it.
many rounds. It's for that
Yeah.
many rounds and allow you like don't you love your fighter? Like don't you want to see them at the end of the day healthy and happy? And you know what I mean? I don't understand why they don't teach fighters defense. It's just beyond me.
And you mentioned Anthony Joshua and Dubois, right? It was interesting. I watched an interview before we came on Talksport, and you remember Gareth A. Davies, who we had as a guest on here at Gary
Mm-hmm.
Stretch's invitation.
Uh-huh.
Well, he was on Talksport, as he often is, with another presenter. I think it was Adam Catterall, but either way, they had John Charles Daniel Dubois' trainer on there, and I love Don to death, but he does seem to be very on a mission of scolding all and sundry this week. Because he really had a go at Gareth A. Davies and said, it's personal. You always pick against us. You know, if I make a mistake, I lose my job. I'm a professional. If I make a mistake, I lose my job. Why don't you so-called experts lose your job when you get it so wrong? And then Gareth said, okay, well done to Daniel Dubois. It was an amazing performance. He said, but Anthony Joshua fluffed his lines, if you will, on that night. He said, that's why I got my predictions so wrong. And then Don said, no, he didn't fluff his lines. Have some respect for Anthony Joshua. That was all because of Daniel Dubois wouldn't let him. It was all about what Daniel Dubois did, not what Anthony Joshua didn't do. I disagree, and I think he was a bit harsh on Gareth. Anthony Joshua was awful, absolutely awful. So, do you see what I mean? Don seemed a little defensive and a little prickly on that show, and when Gareth said, "You come on, Don, you're loved in the industry," he said, "Not you." He said, "Yours is fake love." It's like he hates Gareth suddenly. Which was a bit strange, to be honest with you, because Joshua was at, and I will tell Don this when I see him, and I hope to do a piece with him soon. I was at his gym on Friday or Thursday night, I think it was, but he wasn't there. But in any case, I think Joshua was utterly woeful and bereft of some of the basic boxing rudiments on the night.
No, absolutely.
Well, you know he was. It's not a question of thinking it. You know.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't understand how. The first thing you have to implement in a fighter is not like everyone. You get a fighter off the top, and they put them in front of the mirror, and they teach them how to punch. And the first thing you want to do, if you want your fighter to be confident, healthy, is you teach them defense first. You don't teach them offense first. Because once a fighter starts feeling pain and discomfort, once pain and discomfort are in the mix, are live ingredients, that point your fighter stops learning and starts defending himself. Like he's thinking about survival. He's not thinking about flourishing. So once you teach your fighter how to roll with the punches block, you got everything down, his safety and everything. He feels good. He feels confident. He can get in the ring with anybody at any time. But trainers, they just don't know what they're thinking. They don't know what they're doing. You can't outfit somebody. That's like, you're a knight in the medieval days, and you send somebody out with a knife, and this other guy's got a sword and he's got a shield. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, but he's got a sword and he's got a shield, so he can defend and he can hack you too. But this guy's just got a sword. There's a reason why shields are used. Like defense is important because something's going to be coming back at you, and that's something you may not be able to defend against, or you may not be able to absorb. But if you have good defense, everything's a lot more then you level the playing field with anyone. It doesn't matter how talented they are. So trainers have to start kicking themselves in the ass, or fighters have to start expecting some defensive skills coming from these guys, and not just because you have a quicker release and you get to a guy before he gets to you, that makes you a good boxer. It's just ridiculous. So many things can make fighters like you can level the playing field, like I said, on so many ways, or you can become better. And just by your defense is going to improve your offense 1,000%. And go ahead.
The other thing is, it looks very much as if all the major parties are intent on making an immediate rematch of Joshua Dubois as well, which I think is another sign of the times, really, Silk, because back in the day, Hagler Hearns was considered not quite competitive enough, as amazing as it was, to merit an immediate rematch. There was this sense that Tommy needed to re-establish himself and build again for another opportunity at Hagler. Whereas now we just roll the dice again no matter what happens. Half the time we have it written into the contract. This time, supposedly, Frank Warren says Dubois did not have it written into his contract. Apparently Anthony Joshua did. That makes no sense, of course. That Joshua had a rematch clause in his contract and Dubois didn't. Obviously, that's completely Irish. No disrespect to anybody of Irish heritage, but including myself. But but it looks like Turkey wants to make the fight again. Dubois and his team obviously want the fight again. They think, lovely, let's do it again. Obviously we get lion's share.
Everyone thinks it's a lot of people, great deal of people think it was a fluke. So absolutely, they're going to do it again. And Dubois can certify this, or maybe Anthony Joshua is going to start moving around the ring like he did again with the other kid after he lost, and and so he'll block and move and stick and move and tap away and stuff like that, and try to win the fight in that way.
Yeah, I mean, Do you think in an ideal world it merits a rematch, or would you rather see Dubois go
I
in
mean,
another direction?
would I watch the rematch? Absolutely, I'd watch it. Why not? Yeah, I mean, was it a closely contested fight? Whereas it was a certifiable loss. Yes, it was. Do I think that Anthony Joshua could win? Yeah, it's a win. Initially it was a winnable fight for him, I thought, and I still think if Joshua came out the best that he can do, he could win the fight. But he just didn't, and he's going to have to do
Yeah,
something different going into this one. So the
everything
question
different.
is, can he do something? Is he capable of doing something different to win the fight? It's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? I mean, such a nail in the coffin ending, right?
Yeah,
And to see somebody come back and do that, you know what I mean? I think that's we kind of touched base on it. I think last week, if not the last couple of weeks, when a fighter takes like such a disastrous loss, and for them to
yeah,
get back in the ring with that individual is kind of like the height of valor, the height of courage, the height of a lot of things, and especially if you can come back and beat them, that's amazing. Never mind like Dubois' skill level or Joshua's skill level, just where they are, no matter what. The fact that those two are fighting each other again, and this guy has such momentum. Dubois has so much momentum going in. If he beat him in the sparring like they said he did, and then he came in the fight and he proved it and knocked him out as he did without a lot of resistance. You know what I mean? For Joshua to be taking this fight, he's either got to be the most courageous person or the most certifiable person. One of the two.
yeah. All right, let's talk about Atlantic City. What I
Oh,
miss?
before we get to Atlantic City, though, I wanted to, I wanted to talk a little bit more about inner strength, like this fight between the ladies that just happened on the weekend.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, what makes your trainers think that just because you're bigger, you're going to be like inert strength means little in boxing, right? So you're stronger than her. What does that mean? So they fight the kind of fight. Ryan changes her fight style to prove she's stronger. So they say to Ryan, listen, you're stronger than her. I want you to go out there and
Bullier.
outstrip her, bully her, do all the rest of that kind of stuff. But guess what? That's not Ryan's fight. If that's not her fight if that's never been her fight, and now you're asking her to change her style.
Have you ever seen her fight before?
I've never seen her fight before.
Because she
Not-
bullied Terry Harper, and that was what she kind of outstrengthed her and beat her up. That in her previous fight,
but this girl's
skillful girl she had.
obviously Maya's got more skill. I'm assuming.
Maya is a better fighter, I would say, probably. I mean, Terry Harper's pretty good, and she won a world title again last night. But I would say Maya is probably even a little better. But
Yeah. But
but you know,
basically, she's not fighting her fight. Like she came out of her fight. She changed how she fight, expecting it to be successful. It makes no sense. It's like false confidence. You're saying just because you're stronger, you're going to go out there. Now I want you to go out there and outstrength her.
but Ryan is aggressive. That is her style. She is a come forward aggressive fighter. Absolutely, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All I've ever seen of her, anyway. I mean, so I don't know how much the corner were actually trying to tell her to deviate from the usual game plan, but But regardless, it didn't work right, or it did. I mean, it was a close fight for sure. It's a sort that is certainly a winnable fight, and it could merit a rematch if that's the direction they want to go in. But I imagine Sandy Ryan would want to have it somewhere other than New York, maybe at least, and somewhere where there's less Home Depot stores
Yeah,
nearby.
yeah, exactly. Less opportunities. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But I'm always, like I said, it's always really about ability. It's always ability. It's skills over everything else. And if you have your fighter doing the right thing skill wise, they're not going to be disappointed in their fight. It's the only way
Yeah,
to prepare them. Okay,
yeah,
so we can go on to the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame.
yeah. How was it?
It was beautiful. It was great as usual. Got down there. You weren't there. Scully wasn't there. A few other guys weren't there, but a few more guys were there. I was able to meet Howard Davis Jr.'s son, and I
Oh,
found
cool.
out he's had like 35 fights or so, professional fights.
Crazy. I didn't know that. I did know he had a son who boxed actually, but I didn't know he had
Yeah,
that many.
yeah, I had no idea myself, but it's funny. He said the facial features and the expressions of his dad, and he had his wife and his son with him, and um, so that was really touching to see them. And you
Michael
know,
Nunn was there this time, which I was gutted about because I wanted to see him
yeah,
actually.
yeah, that was your dude, right? Growing up,
Yeah,
yeah.
mate.
Michael Nunn was there. He was in great spirit. We had a good time. We had good laughs. Who else was there?
Larry Holmes.
Roberto Duran, of course. Larry Holmes, who he looks like he's suffering, but he really isn't suffering. It looks like he's. Um, Sometimes it appears like he's coming into dementia because he's moving slower, and we think about
Yeah.
all that. But
But he's
he was
70 odd,
sharp.
though, right?
Sorry.
He's 70 odd, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got to be. He's got to be 70 now, if not really close. Yeah, he's got to be 70, but at least. And yeah, so he was really, he was up and on his bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. He's going at it. He was singing a little bit. He was,
oh, cool.
reciting poetry. So that was really cool. Him and Jerry Cooney went at it. So yeah, Larry was very sharp and knew exactly where he was. Um, Michael Spinks was there, of course, and so the three of them together, Jerry Cooney, Larry Holmes, and Michael Spinks.
And you
That
think
was
Jerry
cool.
may join us on here one time, yeah?
Jerry absolutely will. I talked to him, and he said he would absolutely. And in fact, when I was walking away, he goes, "Oh wait, let me give you my number." So if that doesn't say yes to Jerry Cooney, first we got to get Dennis Rappaport on, then we can go with Jerry.
Yeah, that's true. We got to get Dennis on it. We were going to get him on Friday, but we couldn't because I had to go cover the fights. I went to cover the fights, by the way, Friday night. Charlie Edwards, the former WBC world flyweight champion, won the European bantamweight title against Thomas Asomba. I think I told you the backstory to that was everything needs a soap opera nowadays, huh? The soap opera in this case was that Sonny Edwards, Charlie's brother, was the manager of Thomas Asomba, the European bantamweight champion. So technically speaking, they billed it that Sonny was going to be in the other corner. In actual fact, Sonny didn't go in his opponent's corner, his brother's opponent's corner, but he was still managing him, yeah? And
Uh-huh.
Sonny was, resplendent at ringside in a big fur coat. He's about this big, right, as you know,
In
but
a
he was
fur
wearing
coat,
this fur,
like
yeah,
Johnny Boz with the fur coat.
like Suge Knight, yeah. But somebody, I had to laugh because obviously he's wearing a full length mink coat type thing, Sonny, and he's only a flyweight super flyweight himself, right? And somebody said that's actually a regular size coat,
Really?
that he's wearing. Yeah, they made out that it was just a regular waist length coat, but it was supposed to be. But no, Sonny's cool. We got an interview with him on the channel, as you may have seen on
Mhm,
at the weigh-in on the press conference on Wednesday. And
mhm.
Sonny said, you know what? He's before the fight. He said it's not personal to me. He said I've often seen people I know and love and respect fighting each other, club mates, He says, or whatever, friends. He says it happens all the time. He said I'm not as emotional about boxing as some people are. He said, who wins is not up to me, but I'm giving my brother and my fighter the best opportunity. And in a
Yeah,
way, but the trainer of Charlie Edwards, you remember Callum Smith who fought Canelo, and Liam Smith who also fought Canelo, the Smith
uh-huh.
brothers. There's five of them, right? Paul Smith as
Yeah,
well, who fought Arthur Abraham. There's five Smith brothers. The other one, Stephen, who now trains Charlie Edwards, he said it's unimaginable to us. No way could I ever be involved with someone who's fighting one of my brothers. But
really.
that's what
Yeah,
he
I mean
said.
that makes sense. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
was Friday in any case. But keep
yeah,
going about AC.
yeah. Well, Steve Cunningham was there. That was really cool seeing him, and yeah, really cool dude. Really cool dude. In great shape still. I wanted to speak to him about his Tyson Fury fight. Maybe we can
Yeah,
get him on as well.
that would be
Um,
great.
Roberto Duran, of course, was there, and he was epic as usual. He's hilarious. He's funny. He's like great energy. Iran Barkley was there. That was really cool, mad cool. James Toney was there, and that
Again,
was great with his family. Vito Antuofermo, who hadn't been there for the last couple of
damn it.
years. Yeah,
See,
he came
we
through.
could have got some great content if I'd have brought the camera, and the
Well,
microphone. But
if I told you, I said you got to
I
come.
know, but I
Just
made the right decision. I made the right decision because there's certain things had to do here. But I will come. I will come and see you when before. I think still before Christmas, and we'll still get some content. Whatever's going in New York.
Yeah.
We could do some
Time went
stuff.
by really fast there. You know what I mean? Everything flew by really fast. We got the Randy Gordon was admitted into the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame as well,
Yeah.
as an announcer, as he's been doing that for decades now. And I know there were a lot of good people. Some extremely long winded and too long. They should have pulled the plug on the mic, but
What the acceptance speeches? Yeah, it was too long.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, some of them were just a little much, but always, it's always a good. Oh, who else was there? The kid, Marvello. He was middleweight champ. He knocked out
Maravella, Sergio
Maravello.
Martinez. Sergio
Sergio.
Martinez. Was
Yeah,
he?
yeah,
Oh God.
yeah. He was admitted as well into the into
Yeah.
the AC. So all that was cool, and just always spending time with fighters is magical because you just have
Yeah.
this a certain camaraderie and a respect for one another, and you
Mark
all.
Breland was there, right? Was he?
Mark Breland, yes, Mark was there. We talked for a minute. That was really cool.
He was
Uh,
looking cool in their kind of tuxedo with the
yeah,
distinguished grey hair. I thought he looked really good when I
yes,
see a
yes,
picture.
yes, yes. He was really, and I guess the story of this Hall of Fame was their wives saved the day. You know what I mean? So many wives like go here, do this, say this, da da da, da, and all the
Like
way up
Bonnie
to
Lopez and
yeah, exactly. They got everything done. This is where you got to do. This is where you got to be. This is what you got to say. Do it. Say it. Let's go. And
and this time last year, it was the Saturday we were there. We this on this day last year. It was Saturday night, and we were doing all that all over again. It was the
yeah,
because there was the expo in the daytime, wasn't there? When everybody was hanging
yes,
out in the Hard Rock, and then later on there was I know we had the Canelo Charlo fight at the end of it as a kind of pièce de resistance, didn't we? Icing on the
yeah,
cake.
yeah, absolutely. And oh my God, there was Nate Campbell was there. He'd
I
won
saw
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. He was there. Who else? There was Junior Jones. And
yeah.
Junior Jones is you'd never met a troublemaker like Junior.
He's a funny guy because you remember he came to Philly with us to get a cheesesteak. Although I
Oh,
don't think
that's right.
he had a cheesesteak. He just didn't have a milkshake, right? So he
Yeah,
must have been watching his weight, trying to make featherweight again. But
never.
Junior was when you guys left the car at some point. He gave me a real meme face and said, "Okay, give me what you got," like he was
Yeah,
going to mug me, and he was trying. He wanted me to believe he was serious, which
yeah.
obviously I didn't. Or at some point, when you guys were in the car, I moved around and he went, "Don't touch me again! Don't touch me!" Like he thought I was trying to
Like
put the
you
moves on
molest.
him. Yeah, and he was apparently he does that all the time with everybody, all
Oh
the
man,
time.
he's nonstop. Yeah, you got to get on. You got to be first when you see Junior Jones. Anybody, if you see Junior Jones, get him first before he gets you. That's the only way to level a playing field.
Yeah, and yeah, it was cool when we went to Philly with Junior because he kept asking us questions. He
Yeah,
wanted to know which fighters we thought were worthy of Canastota induction and which ones weren't.
yeah,
And he seemed utterly deferential to whatever me and Iceman said as well, as if he
yeah,
thought, well, these guys know. So he kept saying, should this guy be in? I'd be like, I don't think so. This guy definitely. But he was
yeah,
really interested. He was really interested in who merited Hall of Fame inclusion
yeah.
in Canastota and who didn't.
Yeah, well,
You know.
Junior had an incredible career, like where he came from, what he was able to do. I mean, wow. I'm stunned because I remember like him when he was not world champion, training
Yeah.
beside one another. We had the same Hector Roca for a while, and and just watching him box and coming up and everything. It was pretty amazing. He's an amazing fighter. Excellent.
And he
Like
wrecked
Mayweather.
Barrera the first time.
Sorry.
He wrecked Marco Antonio
Oh
Barrera the
yeah,
first time.
yeah. Oh my God, that was at the Garden. I was at
Yeah.
that fight. I believe I was
Well, yeah,
just
yeah. Do you know
shocked.
who was there as well? Prince Nassim Hamed was there. The young Prince Nassim Hamed,
Yes,
obviously in
yeah,
his pomp and prime, because he was.
yeah,
Do you remember Hamed used to wear the waistcoat with nothing underneath it, so he'd just be skin and a black leather waistcoat, which kind of looked cool when he was. I don't think he'd rock it now, but
yeah.
And he was really happy for Junior. He jumped in there because he was watching the fight all the way through because he was on a collision course with Barrera, so the
Yeah.
industry said at the time. And he was watching Barrera against Jones, and he kept saying, Hamed kept saying stuff to Claude Abrams, the editor of British Boxing News. He kept saying, he's too slow. And then I remember Naz said, dummy left hook, right hand, good night. That's all I would need against him.
And he, sorry, go ahead.
And then when Junior jumped in, when Junior knocked him out, Hamed jumped in the ring and to congratulate him and seemed to be really happy for him, even though he'd seen a big payday go out the window because they were trying to build him versus Barrera.
And Prince had, so Prince had never fought either one of them before at that point, right?
No, and he never fought Junior. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Nassim never fought Junior?
No. They were possibly on a collision course, but it never
Oh
happened.
no, because I'm thinking of the Flushing Flash.
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly. Yes, yeah.
I'd like to do an interview with that guy, Kevin. Is he about?
I've never seen Kevin around. And he's a real cool dude too. I gotta look him up.
Yeah, let's try and find him because he's obviously a New Yorker, so you think we could find him.
Yeah,
But yeah, obviously Hamed went on to fight Barrera in 2001, and that was his first and only professional loss. But it was kind of a legacy limiter for Nassim Hamed. The fact that he lost.
What do you think would have happened between Junior and Hamed?
It's a very good question. I would pick Hamed when he was on song, but I don't. But I wouldn't argue forever with somebody who preferred Junior in that matchup.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Hamed. I mean, I actually think Hamed could have beat Barrera in '97 as well.
Really?
Maybe. Yes, mate. Perhaps. Yeah. But
I mean, he had everything going for him that he would have had at any other point in time. So, and he didn't do it, right? He didn't beat him.
But he was what in 2001?
Well, he didn't beat him. Sorry?
In 2001, he didn't beat him. I'm saying in '97, I think he'd have beat him.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I have not paid attention to Ahmed's career that closely to give you that kind of judgment.
He was he was past noon on the downside when he lost to Barrera because he didn't care anymore. He wasn't the same guy. He allowed himself.
But he'd never lost to anybody, right?
He hadn't, but the writing was on the wall, and he wasn't doing the things he should have been doing.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing with boxing. Like, it's not just about the punching. What got a guy to be that good in the first place was the dedication and all those things you say he shouldn't have done.
Yes.
He's doing all that. So that counts as part of boxing. That's the ritual. So it's not just the punching and the being able to take the punch and ducking the punch, all this, that kind of stuff. It's what you do leading up to the fight that
Which
counts.
is why I say to people who say, oh, yeah, Mike Tyson, no one touches him in his prime, but he didn't do this, he didn't train for Douglas. I say that's a component of greatness. Marvin Hagler didn't train for Mugabe. He did train for Thomas Hearns. He trained for Mustafa Hamsho. That is a component of greatness.
That's what I'm saying. And so I just, if that's what you chose to do that. It wasn't something
that marks against you. You don't get a pass for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
That's part of your character. That's part of your makeup. These are the ingredients you're made of. You weren't able to get up for the fight. That's your issue. It's not like you were missing a hand or you were missing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I can understand.
Because Mike Tyson getting peeled off the canvas at 23 years old by a guy who was a rank outsider, although he was a very good fighter and a very capable fighter. That counts against him. It did not happen to Muhammad Ali at 23. It took the government and the establishment to take him out briefly out of the game, and he still came back and slew giants and
Buster Douglas was there. Yes, Buster Douglas got admitted into the Hall of Fame too.
Oh, I saw he was there.
Yeah.
I did an interview with him one time in 2017, but I don't have it anymore. But it's not in the public domain anymore because I didn't have any control over it, which is a shame. So it'd be good to right that wrong at some point and get a replacement. I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Buster is he's very lucid. He's very aware, and he was not loquacious, but you know what I mean. He was very aware. He was there. He knew what was going on. It was a great time. Like, you could have that conversation with him. So it
Yeah,
would be good to speak with him at some point. I
for
should have
sure.
grabbed the number, of course. There's a lot of things I should have done, but everything can be found. It's there. He said,
As I say, I will come over that. I mean, I realise we're dependent on these Hall of Fame things, but we should also, Silk, think about some of these other occasions. Sometimes, they have other Hall of Fames. Obviously, you've got the big one in June next year, as always. But they have Nevada Halls of Fames, and maybe that's something we could do as well, as we go onwards and upwards with this particular project.
yeah, yeah.
I want you to come to England at some point as well. Yourself, me, and Gary, all in. If we could have all been at the Bivol thing, for instance, the best Bivol thing, that would be great. Especially if we, I'm kind of having a production meeting on live on air at this point, but if we have branded gear as well that says Sugar Silk and Stretch on it, and the three of us are there doing that, would be, we could really work the room then. So you should
Yeah,
look into coming to London whenever it's possible. It makes sense.
yeah. Well,
Maybe we can make that work.
I'm gonna be early next year. I'm taking me mom, back to Liverpool. I'm
Well,
gonna be.
maybe you could fly via London instead of Germany this time? So that was
Well,
such a silk
yeah.
thing to do. I
Well,
didn't
like
even know you could do
Germany's
that.
like $1,000 less expensive. Why not?
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, because let's see. Like I say we can make it happen. We all got lives to lead and other things we have to take care of. But
Yeah,
we will get there.
yeah. But ultimately, it was an exciting an exciting weekend in boxing. Taking that trip back in time, like walking. There was a storm down in Florida, and I guess that just pushed up a lot of warm air, and it's meeting sort of like with the cold air, and Atlantic City was as haunted as it's ever been. Like I'll
Yeah, I
put,
remember when we were taking a walk on
yeah,
the shore
boardwalk,
on the promenade.
yeah,
You,
boardwalk,
me, and Scully, and you said Atlantic City is hauntingly beautiful. And
yeah,
that was a perfect description because it really is. And
yeah,
you actually also said I could live here.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
There's something about it that just it
Boardwalk Empire.
yeah, Boardwalk Empire, and I guess Liverpool was very much like that too, coming off Merseyside. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, the fog rolling in and everything, and it sits down
yeah.
low. Like you really can't see 50 yards in front of you. You're not seeing anything, and it's really like a dreamscape in a way. And it was kind of cool, the grayness of it, and the ocean right there, and yeah, it brought back memories, and so it made me think of already Atlantic City kind of has that kind of depressed magic to it. You know what I
It
mean?
does, and you understand that as a poetic soul.
Yeah,
You get that because there's people who you'd be wasting your breath. It's not chintzy, it's not high end, it's not obviously glamorous or romantic,
yeah,
and consequently it's just down at heel and it's a bit of a slum with a bunch of casinos. But
yeah,
such people do not understand the urgency of life. You
yeah.
know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I'm gutted I couldn't be there. And also, before we go, I want to say you met my friend Michael Mackinson, who has a big fight coming up on October 19th in London. He's a young welterweight. He took a picture with you and he sent it
oh yeah,
straight to
yeah.
me.
He had a bruised eye.
Yeah, because he's been sparring with Jaron Ennis. Yeah,
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
want
So
to keep
he was
that?
in Philly and he had a day off and he thought he'd get up there. And
Oh wow.
he took a picture with all the legends, but he took one with you and he sent it straight to me. He didn't know
Yeah,
words,
yeah,
just look.
yeah. Really cool dude. Really cool
Yeah.
dude.
Because there's
Yeah,
an
like
interview with him on the channel. I interviewed him when the O'Hara Davies Adam Azim press conference for their October 19th top of the bill.
uh
Mackinson is fighting on the undercard of that against a tough South African. It's actually for an IBO title. You
nice.
know how I feel
So
about those. But
how many fights did he have?
he fought Virgil Ortiz. He's got about 20 odd fights, but he fought Virgil Ortiz. That's his only loss is to Virgil Ortiz. Do you remember the English kid who fought Virgil Ortiz a few years ago in
I do
Texas?
not. I do not.
Okay,
My
well,
memory is
his
about that.
only loss is to Virgil Ortiz Jr. Everybody else he's
It's
beat.
strong. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone else he beat. And what's
yeah.
his KO percentage like?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Do you feel he's a puncher?
do you know what? He's strong rather than a puncher. He's somebody who will. I know we've had so many debates about strength, but he will out hustle. He's skilled and he's unorthodox and he's got a bit about him, something unusual and a bit of his own kind of
Yeah,
magic. But he can wrestle you in a clinch and push you around. And,
yeah,
he's a strong guy. You would feel
yeah,
his punches, but he's not a
yeah.
one shot puncher.
Okay.
He's a
Well, why
skilled
wouldn't
guy
you?
as
Why
well.
wouldn't you tell me that? Why wouldn't you tell me beforehand that we were gonna meet? I
I
mean,
didn't know he was coming, and he surprised me with the picture.
oh, okay, all right, cool.
I
Yeah,
didn't know he was coming there. He just I said, "Hey, you must have gone to AC," and he's like, "Yeah, I had a day off." I thought, why not? He was happy because he met Larry Holmes and Michael Nunn and everybody, you
yeah,
know, and Silk
yeah.
alive today. What's not to be happy about?
There was one more. Oh, Pinklin Thomas was also there.
Yeah,
It's cool. And there was someone else. I swear to God. Um, oh my God, are you kidding me? Chop Chop Corley. Uh,
Demarcus Corley, yeah,
yeah, yes. Simon Brown. Yes.
Simon Brown. Oh God damn it, man!
Yeah.
Mantequilla was there.
Yeah. Simon Brown was there.
Mantequilla, damn.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what we're
For
gonna have to
the,
do
the
is we're
first
gonna.
time I met Simon Brown, I was with my father. We went to Miami. We wanted to see what was going on. Went to the Miami Fifth Street Gym, the original one that Ali used to train in, and walked in, and Simon Brown was sparring. So we sat down. We watched him spar. At this point, I must have had like 8 pro fights or something. I'm not sure, 8 or 12
Yeah,
and I watched him spar, and we talked for a second afterwards. And there's no way he would remember, but I absolutely remember because he was on fire at that point, knocking out everybody. I think he'd knocked out Sean O'Sullivan, the Canadian silver
yeah.
medalist. You know, just
He wrecked that guy's career.
oh my lord, wrecked it. Sugar Ray actually did, to tell you the truth.
Sugar Ray
That's a
put him
fight
in with it. Yeah, Sugar Ray
you
was
never
responsible
have.
for that match.
Yes. Also, he was responsible for Kenny Bazemore versus Roger Mayweather. Should never put him in there with
Well,
Roger
do you
Mayweather.
think that's the problem when you're a superhero like that? You make these matches forgetting it's not you that's going to box; it's
Yeah,
them.
yeah. He thinks these guys have those same abilities, and
You
you
must
don't.
do, mustn't you? You must think, well, okay, it's
Yeah,
sink or
yeah.
swim time. I would have done
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And he's probably moved around with them a little bit and said, "Oh my God, there's no way this guy's that good." And he forgets that fight time is absolutely different
Sparring, yeah.
than sparring. Fight time is absolutely different. So
I did 4 rounds of sparring with young fighters on last Thursday. When I only went to do an interview with Peter McDonough, and then he's got this Albanian amateur guy who's about to go in the European Championships, and he asked me would I go in and throw a few punches in for 2 rounds, and he put 2 other kids in, one
uh-huh.
after the other. After the
Yeah,
third round, right, I wanted to come out. It was three
yeah,
threes. Not done it in a while. I haven't
yeah,
been. I started running again after this, but I hadn't been
yeah.
before. And then I was like, after three, he said, one more after this. I said, nah, forget it. Fuck off, Pete. I'm not. And he said, oh, come on. You know what it's like. And I was like, I felt like I had to do it. So I stayed in for the fourth round as well.
Uh,
You know what, Silk? It's so magical. I loved it.
yeah,
Still feels
yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, it does feel good, I'm sure. I'm never going to do it again, and no one would ever be able to talk me into it. Every once in a while, your brain gets the urge to like, yeah, 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 and it's just like you just got to fight it because there's nothing constructive comes out of it. I'm not going to learn anything more than I know, and the only thing I'm gonna feel what I used to feel or what I had felt at some point. Yeah, it's just not.
Just keep, just keep telling anybody who gets it twisted. You don't want to box me blind.
Exactly. You
Never
bark.
mind in my current
Bark's
condition.
worse than the bite now. That's it.
Mario Maldonado was there. The guy who fought Tony Arla Jr. Was that right?
Yes.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah, he was. He was absolutely.
That would have been cool too.
Yeah, that would have been great. I hadn't heard that name in a long time, so to hear his name
Yeah.
and to see him there, I wish I could have gotten something to do with him. You know what I mean? If we could conversate on some things beforehand, but I'm
Yeah.
not exactly
Conversate.
sure. Yeah,
Converse. You can't just
conversate.
make words up. I'm not convinced eloquation's really a word either. But well, while we're on it, ironically,
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, on that note,
on that note, yeah, 'cause I have to wait for you to close because if I try and close, you just resist it with your natural agitator kind of head on. So,
yeah,
guys,
you're a
once
little
again, thank
naturally
you for tuning in to
sensitive,
us.
but
We don't have much growth on YouTube, but we have great loyalty and retention. What can I tell you? Keep tuning in. We'll be back next week with more of what you've come to love. In the meantime, be lucky. Keep punching. Peace out.